Drew Maloney from the Edison Electric Institute. Thanks so much for joining us.
Brody, great to be with you today.
So let's talk about another hot issue here, which is electricity prices. So electricity prices have been going up for a little while across the country. What sort of concern does that cause for you, and what are you telling your members?
Well, Brody, at EEI, we supply electricity to 250 million Americans in all 50 states. I think one of the important things to recognize, and we understand that everything has gotten more expensive recently, but I think one of the things that's really important is that when we looked at the 34 states across the country, they've allowed electricity rates to stay below the cost of inflation. So you really have to look at this at a state-by-state basis, but we are really focused on making sure that we are providing affordable and reliable power to all of our 250 million Americans every day.
You have a new advertising campaign. Tell us about that. When did it get started? And what message are you trying to relay?
Yeah, so we have our new campaign, it's the energy of every day. So what we're trying to remind our customers and American families out there is the value of what electricity is on a daily basis. So if you think about this, Brody, we now are bringing more than 20 devices into a home that need charging overnight or during the day. There's another 50 or so devices that include a refrigerator, fans, lights. All these things are needed to make sure that every day you're ready for that day. And I think we all take it for granted. And for basically the price of a bag of potato chips, that's what it's costing Americans to make sure that their power is on, their refrigerator is cold, they can read by light, they can charge their phones, they can do their homework, and we can have the bright lights here that we have right here in the rotunda.
So we hear a lot about AI and the coming power needs, the thirst that the AI industry has, that people say are going to increase electricity prices.
Right.
Have you seen that yet? How are you combating that? How do you deal with AI?
Actually, I think it's a real opportunity for America. One, we have to win this AI revolution. We're competing with China on it every day. We can talk about permitting and how important that is. But if you look across the country at the different states that have announced large data center additions, it's putting downward pressure on rates. So think about it this way. If you're renting a school bus to take a bunch of kids to prom, and you've got 10 people on the bus, and that's $100, and you're spreading that over 10 people, and then if you just add 10 more people, the cost is getting lower. So we've seen in states from Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Indiana, Arizona, Iowa, all these states that have announced recently deals with data centers, they've had rate freezes, they've given back money to customers over time. So I think this is going to be an opportunity where we can really double down on the electric grid that we have in this country and really create an enormous amount of growth that can be paid for largely by the AI data centers.
So before we get to some of the solutions, let's go backwards for a second.
Yeah.
So what is the root cause of prices going up then, of utility bills going up?
Well, if you look around the country, as I said, 34 states have kept rates lower. California is a higher state. Most of the cost there is wildfire mitigation. You have to bury lines, you have to protect them against wildfires. The Northeast and PJM, which is the Mid-Atlantic region, the challenges there are the electric companies don't own the generation. So we're in the spot market buying generation, and we just need more electrons on the grid. And that seems to be in a high growth environment where we are now, where we have AI data centers, where we have reshoring of manufacturing, and we have more electrification. It's this beautiful storm of more demand for power, and we just have to have more power on the grid, and that's the bottom line.
So there's a Washington Post story recently that had a poll saying that they thought prices were going to go up. You're saying 35 states have gone down, but the poll says that prices are expected to go up, utility bill prices are expected to go up into November. If that were to happen, who's going to be blamed? Will it be Republicans, Democrats, Trump, your industry, AI? Who will shoulder the blame for that?
Well, look, I don't know who's going to shoulder the blame. As I said, most of these rates are set at the state level. So in some states, it's state policies that impact how the rates will be impacted. All I can say is what we've been very focused on is trying to keep the rates as affordable as possible, but the real key is the reliability. I mean, if you think about the electrical grid, It's one of the three most innovative inventions that we've seen in the United States. So you can take the interstate highway system, the railroad, and the electric grid. The electric grid is the sort of the first 5% of GDP, but it powers the other 95%. So we have to continue to invest in that, and things have just gotten a little bit more expensive, but we are very focused on trying to, over a 20, 30-year period, keep those rates as low as possible.
One of your big issues is also permitting reform.
Yes.
Where do things stand on permitting reform? They seem to be stuck in the Senate for a while. How do you broker a compromise there?
Well, look, as we talk about affordability, up to 25% of energy costs are due to regulatory delays. So that's a huge problem. That if we can tackle affordability and start by just passing permitting reform. The other challenge that we have in the United States is if we're competing with China for global competitiveness, it can take them 1 to 2 years to build a transmission line or a generation facility. It can take us more than a decade. That's unacceptable. We have to speed that up. I'm confident that the House and Senate will come together and find a compromise. I've been doing this for a long time, I think 30 years now, Brody, and I've never seen an effort as broad as the current effort is to try to pass permitting reform. The number of groups that support it, the number of resources that are going in to try to pass permitting reform, this is sort of a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and I'm optimistic that we're going to get something done before the end of the year.
Let me put you on the spot with 2 questions. One is, for it to happen this congressional cycle, when does it have to move through the Senate?
Well, Brody, you've been around Washington long enough that nobody holds to timelines, but we have until the end of December. So we can move it during the summer, we can move it during lame duck, but there's always time before the end of the year.
And second question, put you on the spot. I know you don't want to do this, but if it's not done and Democrats take control, is it still possible? Is it still a priority? Well, obviously, it's a priority for you. Could it still get done?
Look, I think it can. I think when you have end-of-year packages, if that's where we end up and we don't get it passed over the summer, I think a lot of people on both sides of the aisle look at clearing the decks. And sometimes this could be an opportunity to clear the decks and then move to sort of another agenda going into the next Congress.
Great. Drew Maloney, President and CEO of the Edison Electric Institute, thanks so much for joining us.
Brody, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.